So now that we've gotten through 3 whole months of VGC online competitions, it's time to look forward to our first unique online competition, poetically named the Tiny Tourney. And for our first lineup, I bring you this team that I like to call the Reshiram's Favorites. So, with the recent online competition being announced being the Tiny Tournament, only the smallest competitors will be allowed for this online competition. Pokemon that meet this qualification are those that are 3.3 feet or 1 meter tall or less will be allowed in. So basically, a lot of Pokemon that are really fully evolved will not be allowed in, but there are still quite a few competitors that we can still bring in for this tournament. And for the first one I'm going to bring up is one that I've relied on very heavily for all of my competitions, especially for my VGC 2016 team. I'm going to talk about Meowstic Male. Now, for those of you who don't know, I ran Meowstic Male as my prankster. He was my basically pure support Pokemon. He was only on the team to, set up barriers, set up safeguards, and use his ability to protect me from various offensive moves that really I had a lot of difficulty with, such as the priority Brave Bird Talonflames, and of course all the Dark Void Smurgles that were very prevalent, as well as all the fake out pressure. For all those, I brought in my male Meowstic. Now, he has a very high special defense, a very strong defense, and he has a very good speed stat with 104 in his speed and his various stats in defenses such as 76 and 81. And for his ability, he has the hidden ability Prankster, which will allow him to use status moves and give them priority above all other moves. Now, if we're going to run male Meowstic, we're going to be using heavily that prankster ability and all those setup moves or all those status moves. So we're going to be looking at moves such as Quick Guard, which will help us protect against priority moves, as well as the various Light Screen and Reflect to set up barriers to protect our team. And we're also going to want to take a look at one move that I also like to run but don't run very often. I'm going to look at Fake Out. Now, once again, Fake Out is like a priority move. It causes the opponent to flinch. It has like a 4+ priority. There's not many moves that can outspeed a Fake Out user besides another Fake Out user that moves faster. However, there is of course the Quick Guard. And remember, Prankster will give priority to status moves. It will give a +1 priority to status moves. And for those who don't know, Quick Guard is also a status move, and it already has like priority moves. So it will gain that +1 priority on top of its like +3 or +4 priority that it always has. Alright, for our next team member I'm gonna recommend Galvantula. Now, Galvantula is a very special Pokemon. A very special attacker as well. It has a very high special attack stat, as well as a very high speed stat. So this is a very reliable Pokemon if you just want to have something for offensive damage and sweeps. And I love Galvantula simply because of its very impressive moves, impressive move pool, as well as its ability Compound Eyes, which will give, extra accuracy to moves that have very low accuracy. And for this, we're going to be using the moves Electro Web, Thunder, as well as possibly Discharge, perhaps if we want to have some extra damage, as well as maybe, I believe it was Signal Beam, Signal Beam, as well as perhaps Sticky Web if we want to, set up stats and such. But that's pretty much what we're going to be using for Galvantula for this team roster. And we're going to, equip him with like maybe a choice specs or so to improve the damage output that our Galvantula can do. For our third member, we're going to be looking at Wishy Wash. Now, I know what you're all saying, probably, why would we use Wishy Wash? Solo form sucks. But remember, Wishy Wash can still go into the tournament. Even if it's in solo form, it can go into the tournament. or through the online competition, as it were. But its ability transforms it into its school form. And for those who don't know, Wishy Washy in school form is a very dangerous Pokemon. You go from a very solo Wishy Washy, which has very pitiful stats, you barely get over the 30 in most of them, into one of the most powerful Pokemon you can possibly have on a team. These are stats that only legendary Pokemon can have. Like a 140 attack or special attack, you can either run one of the two, and you have really strong defenses to go with your Wishy Washy. So that's what we're going to use. For this Wishy Washy though, the Wishy Washy I use, Baron, he has a very strong setup which makes him very difficult to power down unless it's a one-hit KO move, or you really power him down with one hit. And that is the Aqua Wing setup with the Leftovers item. With these two combinations, I get maybe around 30 health every round if he can stay on the field, which helps him maintain his, his school form for as long as physically possible. And we're going to also give him the moves Ice Beam, Scald to, increase our damage output, burns, freezes, and such, as well as the move Protect, which will, help stall our turns to keep him in the fight for as long as possible. Now, for our next team member we're going to be looking at Brazen. Now, while Brazen is not the most ideal Eviolite Pokemon that I could recommend, for that case we'd look at Porygon 2. Brazen does have very interesting moves that we can help use for our team lineup. And with a very strong special attack, some decent defense, or special defense, not the most impressive defense, but we can offset this by giving Brazen, the Eviolite, but also giving it the ability either Light Screen, or I believe we could go with Will-O-Wisp. Yeah, Will-O-Wisp to cause burns. We can also give our Brazen, Flamethrower, Psyshock to deal some Psychic and Fire damage. But we can also make use of the Work Up move, TM. To give our Brazen some extra damage output. Or if we want to, we can, take advantage of opponents who are trying to use the EV Extreme Evo Boost and go for a Psych Up move. Now, that covers Brazen for this. For our next Pokemon we're going to look at, this one's another favorite of mine, and I'm going to recommend Laurentis. But for two different reasons. Laurentis can be run in two different ways if you want to go for either Contrary or normal Laurentis. It doesn't matter which one you run. Contrary will only be used mostly for the special attackers, but we can also run an adamant natured Contrary Laurentis. I'm stuttering so very much for this video. But yeah, we can use a Contrary Laurentis. For those who don't know, Contrary is the ability that will reverse any stat changes done to the Pokemon with its ability. So if it were to, suffer an Intimidate, the Intimidate would normally decrease the physical attack by one stat. Contrary, however, will increase the physical stat by one stage. So that's something we can do. We can run an adamant natured Contrary Laurentis to increase our physical attack against Intimidators. That's one possibility, or we can go with the standard modest Contrary with the Leaf Storm ability. But because Laurentis is a very slow Pokemon, it can work very well in Trick Rooms, and we can, sacrifice those speed EVs and go for a really bulky attacking Laurentis. And of course we can make use of one of the most powerful grass type moves in the game, the Solar Blade, if we want to go for the adamant natured Laurentis. Or we can go for Solar Beam, the second strongest grass move we have available to us. So that is Laurentis. Now, we could use one more Pokemon, one more to give us some extra oomph into the team, some diverse movesets, and, well, some priorities. And for that, I'm going to recommend Lycanroc Midday Form. So, Lycanroc Midday Form has a very strong speed and a very strong attack stat. This gives it really great offensive pressure, and because it knows the Accelerock moves, a priority move that also gives it stab, it is very effective against those flying types, as well as any Pokemon that are just purely weak to rock type Pokemon. We can also make use of the egg moves that Lycanroc gains access to, such as the Fire Fang and Thunder Fang, to gain access to those elemental moves that our team might be lacking. or if we just don't want to run Brazen and Galvantula on the same team, or at least when in the same lineup when we're going for our team lineup in the battles. Now for our next move, we don't really have a lot to work with, but we can use Crunch to add some more diverse movesets, or we can even go for a bulk up setup with increasing our attack and defense stats by 1. For our item choice though, we can make use of the Phytium Z, because for those who don't know, if you use the Phytium Z crystal with bulk up, you gain an extra attack stat along with the attack stat and defense boost that bulk up provides. So that's going to be my lineup for the competition, for the online competition, the Tiny Tourney as it's called. So it's going to be for those who don't, for once again another lineup. These are pretty much my favorites that I would probably will run for the tournament. Going to be male Meowstic, going to have a Galvantula, going to go with Wishy Wash as well, and we're going to have Brazen, and finally, or not finally, we're going to also have Laurentis, as well as midday form Lycanroc. So I hope you guys enjoy this team lineup. This is a new type of video I'm trying to do to speed up video production instead of spending all day making images and then spending another day putting them into video editor and then third day to upload them and render. So I hope you guys enjoy this video and thank you for watching. I'll see you tacticians next time. Bye bye.
Call